This is Arvin Vora, founder of Vora Method and author of How to Get into an Ivy League College. And in this video, we're going to talk about the scariest topic in all of college essays, which is emotional introspection. I know you don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. As far as I'm concerned, there's basically four emotions on earth. There's success, failure, thirsty, and where the hell are my keys? But when we're trying to sort of portray ourselves as being the type of people who belong in these colleges, we're going to have to either have real introspection. Now, if you're like a really emotionally introspective person, you're always thinking about the nuances of your own emotions. I mean, honestly, this video might be unnecessary. This will be easy for you. You might find some useful tips in here. But for the rest of you guys, emotional introspection probably is not your strong suit. So I'm going to give you an example of a technique, and this is just a fantastic technique to create the illusion of a very high level of emotional intelligence and emotional introspection. And we're gonna go back and visit once again with the legendary Jeffrey Eugenides, and I'm gonna read to you a passage from his book Middlesex. So here's the section. Emotions, in my experience, aren't covered by single words. I don't believe in sadness, joy, or regret. Maybe the best proof that the language is patriarchal is that it oversimplifies feeling. This is me again. What is that? What does that last sentence mean? It means that the idea that the language is like very masculine is that it suggests that emotions are very simplistic, which is sort of the stereotypical male way of looking at emotions, rather than nuance, which is the stereotypical female way of looking at emotions. Is this whole section sexist? I don't know, maybe. I'd like to have at my disposal complicated hybrid emotions, Germanic train car constructions like, say, the happiness that attends disaster. When he says Germanic train car constructions, by the way, a lot of German words are just like these long, many things slammed together to make one big, complicated word. That's what they're talking about. The happiness that attends disaster. So think about that. Like that's like if you understand the emotion of the happiness that attends disaster, that's a very specific emotion to be aware of, right? Okay, here's another one. Or the disappointment of sleeping with one's fantasy. I'd like to show how intimations of mortality brought on by aging family members connects with the hatred of mirrors that begins in middle age. Even Jeffrey Eugenides knows that if you want to seem super intelligent, you have to start making connections with things. He's doing it right here. I'd like to have a word for the sadness inspired by failing restaurants, as well as for the excitement of getting a room with a minibar. I've never had the right words to describe my life. And now that I've entered my story, I need them more than ever. So what can you do with this? Well, there's a lot of ways you can play around with it, but I'll give you just one technique. If you can become comfortable with this one technique, it looks so complicated that no one's going to question it. So what this requires is that you use two hybrid emotions. And so as the first phase of that is you're going to just pick some emotion, let's say anger or happiness or just any other normal emotion, sadness, thirsty if you want, and you're going to list like 20 to 40 versions of that emotion. And your first ones are going to be real dumb because that's just how the mind is. Just get the obvious stuff out of the way. Then you get a few good ones, right? And you can do this exercise several times. Really, it's good to start practicing with this. And so then here's what you're going to do. You're going to describe a situation, some situation in your story, right? So maybe in this moment in your story that you're either telling the truth of or just making up entirely, you get a balloon for your birthday. And you want to talk about your emotional response. Now, if you guys, you'd be like, I was happy that I got a balloon for my birthday. Or you're just like, I was bored that I got a balloon for my birthday. Now, what you can do to make it seem super nuanced is we just take two hybrid emotions, right? So let's say we want to say let's say you've listed 20 types of happiness. And one is the kind of happiness that you get from throwing away an empty box. And another happiness is the kind of happiness you get from, reconnecting with a long lost friend. All right. So when you're describing this balloon situation, what you can do is say it's not one of those emotions, but it is the other of those hybrid emotions, right? So you can say, like, basically, I was expecting to feel the kind of happiness you get from connecting with an old friend, but strangely, it was the kind of happiness you get when you throw out an old box, an old empty box. Now, see how emotionally nuanced and complex and like introspective and all that kind of stuff it sounds? But all you have to do is literally pick two just made up hybrid emotions or real hybrid emotions, whatever. Pick these two hybrid emotions and say it's not this, but it is this. See what we're doing? We're essentially doing kind of like what we do with categorization, but we're doing with emotions. Because most teenagers, and honestly most people, avoid emotions at all costs because emotions are the literal worst things in the whole world. No one's going to take it to this level of nuance. And when you do it, it's going to seem incredibly introspective. Like you're so aware of your emotions. And if you do this kind of stuff in various different ways, it's going to just, I mean, compared to all the emotionally stunted, teenagers that you're competing with, it's going to come across as so much more intelligent, so much more nuanced. It's not that hard a trick to do. And if you use it whenever you're writing about something where you have an emotional response, it's going to make you seem like you're the type of person that cares about introspection. Because obviously, how do we demonstrate passion? By describing and fretting over minor details. And if you're describing the details in this highly nuanced way of your emotions, it's going to demonstrate beyond any question that emotional introspection is important to you. You've done a lot and you're good at it. And you have that kind of emotional awareness, which shows the exact kind of maturity and all that kind of stuff that is going to make your application stand out.